in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Kyle Cheslock. I am the VP of Sales here at the Lead Tool. We got a pretty good webinar lined up for you. We're going to be discussing, something that everybody places a pretty big, preference on when it comes to marketing. What they, typically don't think about is if you're not investing in capturing all the leads that is generating for you, you're wasting a lot of money when the reality should be, squeezing every bit of value out of the marketing budget that you have. So we're going to dive into some things with marketing as well as sales, and provide some statistics and some information for you guys today, and hopefully that'll help you in terms of calibrating what you do after you do your marketing. So we're going to give it a couple of minutes here, guys, and let some other people trickle in. We do send these out via email afterwards. So if a member of your team or colleague of yours hasn't been able to make it today for whatever reason, feel free to send that email out. We also post this on our social media channels, which we'll show you a slide here at the end with that information. But Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at the Lead Tool. We also upload this to YouTube. And then we're also going to, for you people that love your podcasts out there, we put it on iTunes as well as SoundCloud. So we're kind of all over the place. Wherever your preference is when it comes to consuming information, we're going to deliver it there for you. So as we go along through here, I'll definitely answer some questions as we go along through the slides. But if anybody has any questions at any point in time, feel free to chat into us, and we'll answer all those questions at the end. So with that being said, it looks like we got a good amount of people in here now. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Now, to kind of give an idea of where businesses are investing their money today when it comes to technology, a lot of you may have already got this in. It seems to be pretty common when it comes to your marketing automation, your customer service. Obviously, you want a knowledgeable staff and management, things of that nature. The call centers and the channel management. That won't apply to a lot of you, but for our bigger companies that are in the audience right now, obviously the investments made there as well. Where most people are falling short here, that typically is higher on a lot of businesses' list, is the Salesforce automation, which is what we're going to focus on here after we dive into some of the marketing here today. But this slide gives you a good glimpse of kind of where everything is heading in terms of investing in that technology. A few years back, Salesforce automation, was low on this list, and it's increasing over time, and we'll get into that here in a little while as well. So that being said, let's talk about the marketing budget, right? What does that look like? Typically for SMB, it's anywhere from 9 to 12% of your annual budget for your marketing. Obviously, that's going to vary from company to company. I mean, shoot, it may range as low as 2% or as high as 18, 20%. So, whatever it is for you, make sure you know what percentage of your budget is, and you'll be able to back into some calculations from there. But generally speaking, that's kind of where it's at. So the biggest shift with that budget, though, isn't necessarily in the percentages that are spent on your budget. It's kind of where that marketing's going, right? So previously, the 90s, early 2000s, even before that, most of that money was spent on what we call traditional marketing, right? Your print advertising, your radio, your billboards, your TV, things of that nature that were very traditional in nature in terms of where you went to go get those eyeballs. Now, since the internet really came to fruition, and particularly over the last 10 years or so, social media, which we'll touch on based on here in a second, that the budget has started to kind of shift towards spending more money online, right? As you can see, the average company spent about 30% of their budget online. Of that, obviously, of that 9 to 12%. That's expected to grow to 35% by 2019. So it's growing, and it's growing very rapidly, and will soon dominate kind of where that budget ends up. Social media itself is growing exponentially, but that's typically only about 15% of what that normal company's budget looks like now. But like I said, that's growing exponentially right now. That's kind of a good place if you want to be ahead of the curve to kind of park your money, if you will, and capture the eyeballs. The beauty of this digital advertising is you can reach more eyeballs, more people, for that type of money, as opposed to just, reaching people in your local market, which We ran a webinar last week on e-commerce. If you have any questions, go check out that particular webinar. We discuss a lot of different things that you can do to drive more money in strictly through e-commerce. But your social media advertising and marketing, that's going to be a piece of that. So now, as far as mobile marketing goes, it's kind of at a point now where it's no longer being tracked in the forecast. It's expected across all channels, right? So that means you're kind of collecting data, and you have this different types of advertising and marketing, if you will. It's not a one size fits all, or a cup of tea, if you will. It's kind of grown into the point where it's expected across everything you do. So now, to give an idea of kind of where those dollars are being invested, this is by 2016, so the most recent data that's available to you. This kind of shows you the percentages in terms of the increasing spend and where it's at and what type of marketing it is, and obviously the corresponding decreasing spend. As you can see, there's a heavy emphasis on email marketing, which was awesome 10, 15 years ago. I would highly recommend kind of getting away from that, if you will. I mean, think about it for yourself. Remember, you're a consumer too. It's becoming more prevalent here, as you can see, but click rates are dropping, open rates are dropping. You're lucky to get a 20% open rate, and very lucky to get a 1 to 1.5% click through rate. So, typically with your email marketing, and again, I come back to think of yourself as a consumer. How many different pieces of email are you getting that you don't open, or you immediately can and put it in trash? So, if you want your stuff read, if you want to get your brand out there, there's some different ways to do it. But the second largest is going to be your social media. As you can see, that's where I'd park most of my money when it comes to what you're doing. Obviously, as it trickles on down, your mobile marketing, on the online display advertising, local search. You see search is pretty big there. If you're going to do any kind of search, you definitely want to focus on local. I can say that 15 times, and hopefully it sticks. And obviously, you see people are getting away from your traditional, your trade shows and events that aren't producing that high of an ROI, your direct mails that you're sending out 20,000 mailers and you're not getting very much back in return. Same thing goes with print advertising, your traditional radio and television. And a lot of that has to do in terms of tracking your ROI, which brings it back to my next point here. When I ask this with a lot of companies that we consult with and work with, and that are customers of ours or become customers, this question is always kind of a polarizing question. What is your ROI on your marketing? And it's a difficult question for a lot of business owners to answer. You just don't know, right? It's easier, if you will, to kind of get to the bottom of that and what your ROI actually is when you do digital marketing. There's tools like Google AdWords, for social media, Facebook, Instagram. They got a great tool set in terms of being able to target your audience and kind of see what your ROI is, impressions, the whole nine when it comes to that. So your digital space, if you will, a little bit easier to tackle in terms of what your ROI is. It's the traditional that's still really prevalent in the industry and dominates your budget. That's harder to track. And think about it, right? If you're thinking right now to yourself, what is my ROI? If you can't answer that and put your thumb on it, that's a problem. You need to understand and know where your dollars are going and what's producing for you. In 2017, you can't run an efficient business without knowing what's generating the revenue for you. If it's, if you build it, they will come. That's a lot of faith to have with a budget, depending on what it is, 50, 100,000, 20,000. Whatever your monthly marketing budget is, you can't just be throwing money at it and expecting to solve the problem. Being able to work smarter, not necessarily harder, is definitely where you want to be at, and that's hopefully what you will get some takeaways from today. But for those of you guys that are in a store, right? My flooring dealers out there that are on this, that have a store. Hopefully you have a door counter right now. If you don't, definitely want to get one. This will be a pretty easy way, and this isn't rocket science, guys. So if there's extenuating circumstances, commercial work, all that stuff, obviously you want to factor that out of this. But an easy way is just to log the number of count through your door counter for the month, divided by 50% or in half. Obviously, you have opening and closing, people coming in and people going out, and that'll give you a good idea when you stack it up to the actual number of sales that are made. of kind of what you're closing and what you're missing, right? And I think you're going to be shocked to find out exactly how much you're missing. And you can cross-reference that with your book of business, right? What kind of data you're collecting, what kind of consumer information you're collecting. How many leads do you have in the pipeline compared to how many times people are coming through the door? That's going to give you a hell of a good idea when it comes down to kind of, you know, you're spending all this money driving in, each person's got $100 or $200 above their head, and choosing whether your people collect that information or collect that information that you're paying for already or not will kind of determine your success level and your ROI on your marketing here. So if you have any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to jump in and discuss further or chat in, and we'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. But that'll give you a good idea in terms of where to start with your ROI. Now, there's an easy way for your ROI to capture this to help you in terms of figuring that traditional out. And that's going to be, through what we call a CRM, which I'll touch base on here in a couple of minutes. But I wanted to provide some sales statistics for you here so you get a better idea of kind of who's closing deals, who's not, what it takes, and, kind of what's happening with consumers today. So 44% of salespeople give up after one contact. If that doesn't blow your mind, it should. I mean, you're saying that 44% of all leads that come through the door get one contact and they're done. The other 50%, 56%, you're not even collecting. So the odds aren't good of you closing deals if you're putting that kind of effort out. If you're only collecting that information, if you're only following up that amount of times, like it's just flat out, your likelihood of closing deals is slim to none. Now, the average salesperson makes only 2 contacts. Again, pretty astounding, but it is what it is. So, to be above average, it's not going to take much more effort, and that's kind of the good thing here, because 80% of sales will take 5 phone calls. So it's a little bit more effort to see a heck of a lot more results from your marketing efforts, from your sales efforts. It's just about putting in the work and doing, kind of the business surrounding it. So, if you want to talk about online leads, 35 to 50% of sales go to the vendor who responds first. So it's crucial if you're getting any kind of leads coming in, whether it's a phone call, whether it's an email, it comes in online, whatever it may be, it's absolutely vital to respond to them as fast as humanly possible within your organization. If your salesperson is busy right now, have them pass it off to another person that's not busy in the storefront that can collect that information. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. They'll walk out. You'll never hear from them again. They're going to buy from a competitor down the road. It's statistically proven. It doesn't really matter. Look it up on Google, whatever it may be. They're going to choose to go with a vendor that responds to them first and shows them the interest. So, and that comes back to 63% of these people requesting information on your company today won't buy for at least 3 months. And that's contrary to what a lot of sales guys within the industry right now, whether you're furniture, whether you're mattress, whether you're flooring, most of the time salespeople tend to focus on what's in front of them, who they're working with right now. And the reality is the far bigger piece of meat, if you will, are those customers that come in to collect information, maybe take out a sample and are kind of doing their due diligence, if you will. That is the far bigger piece of me, or the bigger picture, if you will, in terms of what's available to close out there, as opposed to focusing on what's in front of you right now. Now, don't get it twisted in the sense that I'm telling you not to focus on what's available right now. Obviously, you should focus on what's closing right now. But having worked in retail myself and being a consumer myself, I've never seen a retail operation that is slammed from open to close with a number of customers in there that they don't have time to do their follow-up. So, it's time to start packing away those excuses and start time to getting down to business when it comes to getting in front of these people. And you're going to see some awesome results because of that. So, particularly, again, 20% more will take more than 20 months to buy. So you're talking about a pretty big piece of the puzzle here that are buying somewhere between 3 and 12 months, not today. So focusing on that will certainly separate yourself from a lot of competitors in the marketplace. And I guarantee your customers and potential customers will appreciate it because you're not giving up on them. Now, companies that automate their lead management, this is kind of where I'm going to get into the CRM portion of what I'm talking about. see a 10% or greater increase in revenue in 6 to 9 months. Now think to yourself, would you guys like and would it move the needle to see a 10% or greater increase in revenue? What could that do for you? Could you hire another sales rep to grow even more? Could you expand your operation? Could you get a new product line in there that's hot right now that you just couldn't afford before? Could you take it personal? Could you take another family vacation this year? Could you put more away for retirement? Whatever it may be that is what you want to do, what your goal is, simply by taking a step out on the olive branch here and implementing a lead management CRM system, you're going to see revenue increase. You're going to see a whole lot of benefits that far outweigh that initial change in terms of how you guys are doing business, if you will. So with that being said, to today's consumer too, and this kind of goes hand in hand, 80% of consumers are researching your products online. So we talked about it last week with e-commerce and a few quick wins you guys can have in terms of capturing that information. And I'll reiterate here, if you don't have your products online, you're missing the boat. Consumers consume information differently than what they used to. The role of a retail sales rep has changed over time to what it is today, to what it used to be. The value lies in working with the customer when they're coming in and getting them into the product that they want, but the consumers are educating them. As a sales rep in the store, you're going to be doing less educating than you are than what you would have had to 5-10 years ago. They already got their research down. They already know the products, and if you don't have them online, there's too many websites and too many companies out there that are doing that they're just going to end up going to. And you think I'm wrong, go check out Wayfair, go check out Home Depot, go check out Lowe's. It's available to you. Go check out a competitor in your marketplace. More and more are starting to put their products online. So they just want to see if you have them. Consumers still want to come into the store and touch and feel the product itself. And that's kind of the leg up that you have on your traditional e-commerce retailers that don't have the brick and mortar like your Wayfairs and Amazons. So that's your leg up. Leverage that. So, when it comes to actual mobile phones and mobile use too, 87% of people are doing that search from their phone too. So make sure that website is mobile optimized. It'll help out a ton. That's kind of where everybody's consuming their information again. And again, think of yourself as a consumer. What do you have attached to your hand and your hip at all times? What do you use to look up information? More than likely, you're going to say it's your mobile phone. So with that being said, all of this is designed to basically allow you to engage with consumers, across all these different channels. But first, you need the data. The data will allow you to create a profile of who that customer is, in which case you're then going to be able to go back and make your marketing budget and your agency and whoever you're hiring to do that, whoever's on your team, more intelligent in terms of how they go about marketing to your customers. That will ultimately drive in the buyers from the guys that are just browsing or window shopping, if you will, or even more so being able to target those particular individuals through social media, whatever it may be. Again, this is all about working smarter, not necessarily harder. And if you're not capturing those leads and information that you're driving in through your marketing efforts, it's affecting how your marketers market to your particular client and demographic, right? And it doesn't matter how long you've been in business, whether you've been there for 30 years, 10 years, 1 year. It does not matter. Nobody and no marketer and no person will ever say that they already got all the information, they know everything they need to know about their demographic, and so on and so on. Demographics change, people change, buying habits change, taste changes all the time. So being able to have that data in real time and see these trends as it's happening is absolutely crucial into this very online environment that we live in today. Now, 74% of users that were polled that said that their CRM improved their access to customer data. And that's kind of what this is all about, too. Putting data at the fingertips of your guys in the showroom and helping them understand the customer a little bit better as well. So, at the end of the day, you got your marketing budget. You know what it is. You need to know your ROI. If you don't know what it is today, obviously there's a couple tips and tools that we talked about throughout this particular conversation that you can get a better idea. But in terms of CRM, that'll also help you. It's a common question that's probably being asked in your showroom in terms of, how'd you hear about us or what brought you in today? It will allow you to Obviously, keep track of that data with that particular consumer and compile it and deliver it to your marketing team so they can start getting smarter about how they target people, who they market to, and what avenues are producing the most results for you, which I guarantee will surprise you. Now, if your traditional advertising budget is kind of where everything's at with your TV, radio, it'll give you a kind of a shock, if you will, in terms of what these people are saying and how they find you and what's bringing them in today. The whole idea is to build a 360 degree view of who these customers are and who your consumers are, and obviously benefit from all these efforts and time and money you're spending to generate these leads for your sales guys through your marketing efforts. So, moral of the story is, guys, you're spending a ton of money on the front end of this, and you're not spending enough money and time on the back end of this. It's kind of putting the cart before the horse, if you think about it, right? So, with that being said, definitely want to thank you guys. I didn't want to suck up a ton of your time today, guys, but we do these webinars every couple of weeks on different topics. Hopefully, you guys got a couple of good takeaways from our conversation today. Let's see if there are any questions that popped in here. All right. We are answered that. Nope, good, cool. Answered those questions for you. Hopefully, if anything else pops up, you can find us on our social media channels that you see there: Facebook, Twitter, obviously Instagram. Shoot us over a DM. Otherwise, shoot me an email. That's my email right there, Kyle at the number 4megroup.com. You will be receiving an email from us with a recording of this session. Like I said in the beginning, if you're into podcasts, check it out on iTunes, check it out on SoundCloud. Otherwise, it'll be on YouTube and our social media channels later today or late tomorrow morning. So, with that being said, guys, absolutely thank you for joining us today. Always a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Thank you.